Yeah, the first portion of this audio will be just a short audio where we just talk a little bit about the earth changes going on, the geomagnetic storms, and we do a little prayer and meditation and healing for all the areas that are geographically experiencing turbulence. And the second part will be, I'll do a separate recording for everything on the third dimensional reality, which was really the original focus of this call. As I mentioned earlier, I just wanted to add in this extra part to help people navigate through this very uncertain time. It's just an uncertain window, a doorway into higher realms. So, okay, that's the flow. The call will probably, since I'm adding on an extra, will probably be 2 hours. I hope, if I can, I will do Q&A at the very end. I definitely want to tell you about the the Exiting the Matrix class that I'm offering. And if you want to get a little heads-up notice on that, you can head over to LoriSpagna.com. Under the Live Events tab, you'll scroll down and see Exiting the Matrix. Yeah, that's the next full course I'm teaching. If it's easier for you, you can go to http://tinyurl.com/exit3D. 3 is a number. The D is a letter. Okay, but let's get underway. First, I just want to express my deep and sincere, heartfelt love and compassion to all humans and animals on planet Earth who are in any area of the planet that's experiencing extreme weather conditions and extreme polarized experiences of any kind, especially as it relates to the inner emotional turbulence. If we are not aware of this, let me say this loud and clear. The highest truth that I'm aware of with respect to weather, the highest, clearest truth that I'm aware of, is that the weather is a reflection of our inner emotional states. So when we come into a state of peace and calm within our inner emotional states, this is really big, the weather becomes much more calm. So that's not to invalidate any experience that anyone is having, nor is it to diminish, the pain that people are experiencing and animals are and have been experiencing, especially in areas, most of us here on this call, I have people calling from around the world, but most of us are in the United States. Most of my audience, my community is in the United States, and I have some people in Spain. I see people in the Netherlands on the call. I see people in the UK. Welcome. Certainly Canada. I have people in Canada. Wow, there's some people in the West Indies. So all around the world. So welcome. We're just getting started. So thank you for being here. All right. So let's just start with a prayer and a little. Let me just ask if that's where we want to begin. A little intro to. Yeah, let's just actually before we go to the prayer, let's start with a little intro to the weather part. Obviously, people are still logging on, but if you heard me say this, the weather patterns on planet Earth, yes, many of us are aware of HAARP and weather interference, weather control, and weather warfare that's being used from HAARP technologies, HAARP, and that is true, and we're not going to pretend or deny. We're not going into a state of pretending and denial here. We know that does exist and that is contributing in some degree of the dramatic weather changes, whether it's people being kind of like smoked out on the west coast of California, for example, or rained out in the lower eastern states and, of course, Texas. We know that geoengineering and weather control is playing a role in it. However, Yeah, let's rise to a higher level of consciousness here, which is what we're all hoping, and I hope if you're on this call, that's why you're here. We're hoping, desiring, and intending to raise our frequencies to the highest states of consciousness we can align to and align with. If we're willing to do that, at least at this, what I can deliver is that the weather is a reflection of how we've been feeling, and it's a response to the recent equinox, right? We just had eclipse, the eclipse that recently happened, where we had a full solar eclipse literally from Oregon in the United States, where there are now cloudy smoke storms, right, fires, all the way down to really the point of the end of Irma is in where? North Carolina, where the eclipse ended. So obviously I'm talking primarily of the United States here, but there are major weather shifting patterns all over the planet. There's parts of the planet underwater. But it's interesting that these two areas are sort of the polarized areas where weather patterns are really in peak right now. And I'm not omitting or forgetting Mexico, the earthquake that just happened in Mexico and the extreme weather conditions there. And I'm not omitting what just happened in Texas, of course, with Harvey. I'm just saying we can see this. So let's talk about what this is about. The eclipse took place, and the eclipse was a shadow coming over the sun, the moon, the emotions. Moon represents our emotions, eclipsing the sun of God, right, and creating a shadow over the planet for a period of time. Whether you saw that shadow or not, it did. And whether you were a country that was not in the shadow path is still not the point. The eclipse did that. This shadow came over the sun and is basically asking us to look at our shadow aspects and to eclipse them, to leave them behind us. And so now major shadow elements in the wake of the eclipse have come up to the surface, suppressed emotions, repressed and denied aspects of our consciousness coming up to the surface for us to look at and heal and resolve. And these shadow aspects are affecting us in peak areas on the planet where they've been suppressed, repressed, and denied. Now, when we talk about these kinds of storms going on, for example, like what happened in Harvey, Hurricane Harvey, there's an aspect of there's a consciousness of a hurricane itself, as many of us know, and that consciousness is literally asking us to look at this area of Texas and where all the oil is there, all the oil companies. So from a shadow aspect of consciousness, we could say, well, oil companies geoengineered this so they could raise the rates of oil, which of course they have done. But from a light aspect of consciousness, we could look at this and say, well, Hurricane Harvey is helping us. H is the helper letter, by the way, helping us to understand that oil will not really be part of our future. It's not sustainable. Now, you can have both perspectives, or you can have another perspective, right? But I'm not dealing in the really deep fear level perspectives, which is just terrible things are happening and Earth's going to hell in a handbasket. I don't buy into that. So from my perspective, those are two worthy perspectives to look at and to evaluate and to choose the high road, which we as light workers get to choose. How will I serve through this time? How will I contribute? And what energy, what vibration, what frequency, and what state of consciousness will I hold during this? Because mine, meaning each and every one of ours, is the state of consciousness that's going to shift the frequency and the consciousness for all beings who are right now in states of fear and anguish and pain and suffering and terror and all those kinds of experiences, right? So same is true, obviously, I'm in Florida, by the way. I'm literally in southern Florida at this time, and I can tell you there is absolutely no rain. There has not been any rain. There's, other than basic little rain clouds that happen in Florida all the time, there's no thunder, there's no lightning, there's no wind. So for 3 days there's been mass hysteria from humans who have closed down stores, raided, basically, I'm using the word raid as an extreme word, but they've stocked up on everything from batteries to flashlights to groceries to gas, to the point that people have overstocked. And yes, there is now, like, as far as I know as of yesterday, most gas pumps were closed. There wasn't a lot of batteries. You had to drive around to get batteries and flashlights. So, but nothing has been needed. Nothing. And ironically, where I am on the East Coast, Irma has shifted to such an extreme degree that now it's no longer a Category 5. It's lessened dramatically, as I have been predicting all along. And it's not even really, the eye of the storm will not even occur over this area. So it's interesting that humans created a huge amount of fear and drama and worry and anxiety, which is seemingly unnecessary so far. I'm not saying, we haven't even felt Irma yet because she hasn't come, but what I am saying is that many humans were in a very reactive state, taking information from the news, in the media, and taking information from cellular trauma. And this is what's really important. Cellular trauma stored up in the cells, fear of death, fear of Armageddon-type scenarios, fear of drowning, fear of sinking. Those are fears that are very real. We could trace them back to Atlantean timelines, if you understand this concept, Lemurian timelines, Armageddon timelines, end-of-game scenarios. We could trace them to other alternate realities, and we could trace them to, we could call them past life, parallel life traumas. And those are real. And those are not anything we should undermine or ignore. But that's where healing comes in. That's where the clearing and the healing comes in. Because to me, in a sense, Irma is here to help us heal and resolve these suppressed, repressed, denied cellular memories of trauma and drama that is very real for us. And most people, in a sense, are being coerced to reenact those traumas, those fear-based, they're called seed fears, that are embedded into their cellular makeup. And Irma is, as I believe Harvey is, in the highest frequency, doing their best to clear and wash away these traumas for us and help us work through them in as safe of a way as we can. Now, obviously, I'm kind of not going into all of the media-controlled propaganda that has evoked mass terror and fear unnecessarily. But I am saying that this fear that we're carrying in ourselves needs to be cleared, healed, and resolved. And that's what we're doing. We are working through it. However, we're working through it. So my prayer, and I hope you're all with me on this, is that we can work through this as gently, lovingly, benevolently, peacefully, and consciously, and harmoniously as we possibly can. Obviously, we can see, one thing that we can see that's quite beautiful, and this is, I think everyone on this call has noticed that, hopefully, is how humans are truly coming forward. And there's healing going on this call right now. There's a lot of sadness being purged. I can feel it, which is beautiful. That's wonderful, because these are safe places where we can release that. We can release it in consciousness without going into all the fear. But my prayer is that humans will be able to release this most gently and most benevolently, most lovingly. And what I was going to say was that we can see how so many humans are coming from a service place here, that humans are really stepping up to help one another and be of service to one another, and that we are waking up. We are waking up to realize we've been massively manipulated, and I think that that's going to be one of the lessons of Irma. I'm not belittling what damage has happened, but what I am saying is that we don't know the truth because the media is not giving us the truth. We don't really know what happened in any of the other islands because we haven't been there. I do know last year I was in Florida during Hurricane Matthew, and just for kind of, let me not say for kicks, I tuned into the news briefly, very briefly, at the peak of Matthew when it was literally said to be over the land that I was in, the city that I was in at that time, which was Loxahatchee, Florida. And the media was making it like it was just this horrible, terrible thing, and it was such light rain for a regular hurricane. For me, it was like kind of laughable. We had a fire going in the backyard, a safe fire in a fire pit, and it didn't even go out. Morning, it was still burning. So, and we put a blanket, a pillow, a light outdoor cushion in the middle of the property in Matthew last year, and we watched the pillow to see if it would blow. It never even blew away. So, anyway, Irma, for those of us in Florida, I tends to be indulgent, and we can see how humans have been quite indulgent about this. And again, I'm not belittling. I understand we need to take care of ourselves. We need to do what we need to do so we can feel safe, and that's important. But we need to process through our fears. We need to process through these deep traumas, and that is what the Exiting the Matrix class is about, by the way. All right, I hope that sheds some light. I will just add these last two things about current geomagnetic storms and a few more things, actually. The solar flares that are going on, which no one's talking about the solar flares in Florida. They're quite intense. In fact, I'm going to pause for a second and just take a sip of my tea. Hold on. Yesterday I looked up, I was driving and I looked up in the sky, and there were I can't say, it was not rainbows, but there was such a light show of rainbow-colored lights in the sky. It was like a light. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in the sky. Absolutely gorgeous. All different colors of light in the sky. And understand these solar flares, which no one's speaking about, but that is the light of God enlightening us and awakening our light bodies and activating dormant aspects of our consciousness. So, of course, it is triggering fears to come up for cleansing, for purifying, for releasing, for transmuting. But it's really activating this dormant consciousness that's within us. And it's a wonderful time from that perspective. If you're able to sort of stop, this is a time to just stop everything. So in a way, Irma is a great gift in that sense to Florida, because we can stop, we can go within, and we can start calling in these light frequencies. They're designed to help enlighten us. Again, I'm going to be going into this much, much more on the call on the 28th, the Ascension Manifestation and Healing Circle call, because I just don't even have the time for it right now. Right? I've almost gone already half an hour. We haven't even gotten to the prayer yet that I want to do. But those solar light flares are designed to help awaken us, and that's part of what's activating a lot of this and what's triggering so much of this. The solar light flares are also, remember I said in the earliest part of the call that the weather patterns are an indication of our inner emotions. So what is the solar light? That is our light. That is our God selves activating, shining light on ourselves. That is the prayers and the healing that light workers and star seeds and way showers and change agents and benevolent beings around the globe and intergalactically are shining on us. to help us through these very challenging times as we shift our consciousness and shift out of fear states and into unity states of consciousness, which are more aligned with love and peace and sovereignty and inner harmony and harmony for all. Okay, let me just pause here because there's so much more I could say about the weather and the role of weather and what's going on. Understand earthquakes and the stuff that's been going on in I will draw this. Let me draw this. I'm going to take a little liberty here. You guys, those of you who know me, you know I go long on stuff like this. I want to say there are a few really wonderful things happening. When we talk about tsunamis, for example, obviously today's Mexico's earthquake, that tremor is the shifting of Earth's tectonic plates, and it's triggering tsunami waves, right, which are concerning, right? But we as conscious beings still have an opportunity to shift how this could or would affect us through learning more about how to go into that sacred, neutral, peaceful state within us and how to radiate that out. These are laws of the universe I've talked about before. The law of radiation. We can radiate out from us peace and harmony. If you're on this call, you've already been playing with that. You already understand that. But let's draw just a little. I haven't even tuned into what happened in Mexico yet, since that was just literally today. But I want to go back to Hurricane Katrina. When we talk about Hurricane Katrina, who went several years ago over Louisiana, Katrina was there to clean out old voodoo energy, old KKK energy, all slave driver kind of programming. And she had Kali energy, so that K is a very tough, strong energy. If you look at Hurricane Sandy that hit the Northeast many years ago, Hurricane Sandy was there to clean up areas associated with what's going on Plum Island in the Northeast, and also what was going on Montauk Island. Now, if you're not familiar with this stuff, I realize I'm about to push a few buttons here, but Plum Island and Montauk Island have been known to be where basically Hitler's Nazis have been still doing chemical warfare testing, and where it's quite known, in conspiracy groups. And conspiracy is not a theory. They're only theorizing for many years, to the point now that they know what's going on. There's stuff going on there that's created Ebola. They created HIV. They created a lot of these, Ezekiel, these viruses. So Sandy was up there to, send a message that that's going to be cleaned up, got to be cleaned up. Same if we look at the tsunami that went to Japan a few years ago. When Japan, this is all only my psychic spiritual awareness, please take what you like, discern for yourself. I'm just sharing the consciousness that I have to share here. And it's up for all of us to do our inner discernment here. But if we look at Japan, the tsunami there a few years ago, Japan was doing brutal attacks on the people of the sea, the dolphins, and they were dishonoring and disrespecting all the marine animals of the sea, mass harvesting, unnecessarily, without any kind of compassion for these animals. So the sea came up and smacked them, and simultaneously that tsunami decided, well, let's bring consciousness about these nuclear power plants. This cannot continue. So when we start to see the weather as sort of a consciousness friend, we don't always necessarily have to be so afraid. I mentioned Harvey is really helping on a certain level to bring light to what's going on, that oil is not going to be part of our future. It's not sustainable, and it's not serving the greater good of humanity. And I realize there's a lot of adjusting along here that we're having to learn about. So it's not like everybody is aware of it from that perspective yet, but this is just a perspective I can offer. So what is Irma here for? Irma, I mentioned I is indulgent, but Irma is really, in a large degree, really helping us to clean away old Atlantean, traumas associated with having been sunk, having gone underwater, land masses sinking. And also Irma has a lot of the sacred feminine. So when you look at that M, energetically, I'm talking about vibrations here, the energetics of that letter M have to do with matron, Mother Mary, Mary of Magdalene, the Divine Mother, the Divine Feminine. So Irma is carrying a lot of that motherly energy where the feminine has been repressed and suppressed. And to a certain degree, it's interesting that she's was originally slated to go over the area of where Trump's sort of headquarters are, right? In just literally 20 minutes from where I live. Now, I don't know to what degree I'm in my own reality here, but I think it's really interesting that yesterday I was on the phone with a sister, a star sister of mine, who I just love so deeply, and I know we went down in Atlantis together. I mean, I have whatever knowing I have around that, and so does she. And we did 3-hour, maybe a 2-hour plus meditation for healing on Irma, sending peace and harmony, receiving the gifts of consciousness from Irma, expanding that gift, and amazingly, Irma has gone from a level 5 to a level 4. We're going to do some more today, and Irma is shifting. She's shifting. Now, I get it. She's still along the West Coast, so that means we need to do more shifting. We need to do more. We're not done, but there's time still tonight to shift this and to change this, to use our inner power. The power doesn't, by the way, power doesn't go out when you don't lose your inner power, when you stay in your power. All right. I think I've said enough about this. I could go on for a lot longer, but hopefully that's shared and expanded some consciousness. And I could go on for a long time about this, but I'm going to kind of leave it at that. I want to make one last comment, though, on it, because I'm sorry, there's just so much that comes out of this. I was on Facebook, and I try to go to Facebook every day, and I try to, acknowledge anyone who's on my page or anyone who's asking questions, or I do my best to, to just post whatever I have to share. Anyways, you can definitely come over to my Facebook page and connect with me there as well. But I was over there, and before Irma, even 5 days ago, I posted something about Irma. Maybe it's 4 days. I don't know. Losing track of time here. And I posted something just about the vibration of the name, because I've studied names for many, many years, and I have taught a class on, sacred namology, which you could see on my website if you wanted to learn about that. And I love studying names, every name has a vibration, and every letter has a vibration, and the placement of the letters and the placement of the names all matters. So I posted something about Irma, the name Irma, without talking at all about the hurricane itself. And someone really reacted to it, and she got, I don't even know who it was. I didn't really pay a lot of attention, but I saw 20 posts in response to my post there, and they were very aggressive. And they were, in my opinion, quite aggressive anyway. I'm very sensitive to that, so maybe that person didn't see it as aggressive, but it was kind of rants about how, this is going to kill people, and I've looked into the storm, and da-da-da. And I thought, wow, this person's coming from really a state of, anger and aggression. And I don't think she realizes, because this person does seem to be fairly conscious from what she's saying. I didn't really read a lot of it because for me, that's not something I want to play with. I'm just here to share whatever I can share and to hold a sacred peace and neutrality and to bring calm to these storms and not to indulge in these, projections of death and destruction, because that's not what this is about for me. I hope it's not about that for you. I hope that each of you will benefit from what I've said and go within and ask, where am I in polarity? Because even if you go to the extremes of the smoke in the fires in the Northwest, we're talking about smoke. Smoke is clouded judgment. Fires are just like burning. We're burning out of control. We don't have our inner passions. Our inner passions are not really contained within us. We're just out of control kind of passion. So we have that in one polarized extreme, and then the other polarized extreme of what's happening here in Florida and Texas and the Gulf Coast. And you can see the polarity of extremes, and it's almost like humans are being asked to come into that sacred neutral to bring balance. Now, here's the good news, and I will close with this, and then we'll do a little prayer and a little healing. The 22nd is the equinox, right? The 22nd is the equinox, and that is going to bring some much-needed balance. So there is a light at the end of this tunnel. To me, it's the equinox, September 22nd. We will all start seeing a lot more balance, I believe. And as we all come into balance, into our own inner balance, I think we will start to feel that even sooner than the equinox as we allow ourselves to recognize that we have a right, we are worthy, we are deserving of having inner balance and peace, and that nothing and no one outside of us can upset our balance, can upset our inner peace if we do not give them that power. And that includes the media, that includes Facebook, that includes Facebook friends and other people calling us even to check on us. I must have gotten like 50 calls and texts and emails from well-meaning people who had been affected by the outer turmoil, wanting to check on me, which, while I appreciate their love and their care, I could feel that that was not coming from inner states of balance. It was coming from outer turmoil. And I'm just saying, we're learning to maintain our inner peace and our inner balance. We have power within us to do that, to control our inner states through love, peace, and balance within. All right, let's do a little prayer for all the planet, all areas of the planet, and then I'm going to talk some more about exiting the matrix, aligning with the, vibing out of 3D, which is part of what we've talked about today a little bit, but we'll go much more into vibing out of 3D and anchoring and aligning in 5D and understanding the dimensions and the frequencies and the vibrations beyond 5D, states of consciousness beyond 5D, which is where all of planet Earth is headed, whether we know it or not. And the only question is, when and where you'll sort of sync up in there. Okay, but let's do the prayer. Sorry, I'm making a note to myself that I have to remember. All right, so if you would, just take some deep, comfortable breaths and let yourself relax into your belly center, into your heart center, just breathing in comfortable breaths in through your nose, down into your belly, and let's just start with a prayer that we call upon the highest, clearest, purest, divine source consciousness, the original source of infinite love, infinite peace, infinite wisdom, infinite light, infinite clarity, infinite kindness, infinite harmony. That original divine source, the creator of all that ever was, all that ever will be. The Christed Sophia consciousness, which is the harmony between the masculine energy and the feminine energy. The crystalline consciousness, which is really the Christed consciousness, has nothing to do with the being so much as it is to do with that crystalline energy that's awakening within us. We call this forward, from within, from without, from around, from above, from below, from all directions. And we breathe in the love and the consciousness within us. We breathe in infinite wisdom into us. We breathe in infinite peace. We breathe in infinite clarity. We call upon this infinite consciousness to be present here and now. And we ask it to infuse us and surround us with safety, with peace, with harmony, with unity consciousness, knowing we're all united in a space of love. And any fears that come up, we just let them go into love. Any anxieties, any worries, any frets, any doubts, any traumas, anything we're carrying, we have nothing to fear. Because all there is really here is love. Just breathe. Breathe it in. And let's just invite in the consciousness of all areas of the planet. Florida, Texas, Oregon, California, Northern California, India, Mexico, Japan, anywhere on the planet that needs higher, lighter, pure frequencies of love, of peace. If you feel sadness coming up, just breathe. Just breathe deeper. Breathe in some love. If you feel anything coming up, just breathe in love. You can just release the sadness, whatever it is, just release it on the exhale. In these areas of the planet, we're just breathing in some love and some peace and some harmony for them. When you feel yourself connected to this peace and this love, this harmony, this inner state of neutrality, radiate that out. Just breathe it out. Just extend it out to those areas of the planet. If you feel sadness come up, that's okay. Just breathe deeper in love. Exhale the sadness. Breathe in love. Come back to your sacred neutral place by breathing in love, breathing in peace. Anything that's denser or heavier that needs to come out and be transmuted at this time, we let Divine Source, infinite love, infinite light transmute it into love, into peace. We extend our peace and our love to all areas of the planet. And let's just call in the consciousness of Irma, since she's right now, and then we'll do Mexico and Harvey. So let's just call in the consciousness of Irma and just send her our love and our peace and our gratitude for all gifts of consciousness she has provided to us. Recognizing the gifts of Irma, because we know once we receive gifts, once we receive the gifts we're meant to receive, the issue itself, for example, in this case, Irma, can start to dissipate. So we breathe in whatever gifts of consciousness we're meant to receive at this time. Deep, comfortable breaths here. Just allow yourself. That's all you're doing is you're breathing, you're relaxing, you're receiving. And just allowing. Nothing to fear here. Just allowing Irma to give her gifts to us so that she can be done with her work. And if you're able to see anything with your mind's eye, you can just see the eye of the hurricane. Allow yourself to see it dissipate. We are creator beings here. See Irma just kind of dissipating into just a few rain clouds. No more eye of the storm. She's unwinding. She's unwinding. She's just relaxing. She's releasing. She's letting go. And she's just becoming some storm clouds with just a few tears remaining. Just letting go of all the turbulence. Breathe if you feel tension. Breathe, release, allow, trust. Deep breaths of love, deep breaths of peace. surrendering to the love, surrendering to the peace, surrendering to the harmony. And now see Irma, if you could, just move even a little more west, off land, off coast. So what she gets is simply the center of water, just the water herself in the Gulf just absorbs. That none of the land is actually affected. That Irma just gently, benevolently, peacefully goes straight to the center. Water just absorbed gently, lovingly, benevolently, and that no land, no people, no animals are harmed, that all beings are safe, that all beings are in peace, safely in their homes, all homes and all land masses, all structures are fine, safe, well, and at peace. All animals, all farm animals, all agricultural animals, all animals in captivity, in zoos, in aquariums, are peaceful, are safe, are fine. Just breathe in peace, send peace. Just breathe out peace. We have great power in our center, in our inner center of peace. We are allowing this peace. All humans in their homes at peace, calm, harmony. Breathe in peace. And now let's just extend that peace over towards Houston in Texas. And that all beings in Houston, in and through and around Texas, are at peace. Just breathe deep, comfortable breaths of peace and love, peace and harmony. Extending it out to Texas and all of Harvey, people who have been involved in Hurricane Harvey, and animals as well. And breathe in some more and extend it down now over to the west to Mexico. All around Mexico. You may see Mexico. You may see the waters of Mexico in your mind. And just breathe some peace. Breathe in some harmony. Breathe in some love and extend it out. There's no way to do this wrong. The intention is what matters most. And the energy and the frequency of peace and harmony is what matters most. Breathe in consciousness and extend out consciousness. Breathe in peace, extend out peace. Breathe in harmony, extend out harmony. And now move up the coast of California. Just breathing and extending peace and harmony. And as you rise up to Northern California, everywhere around Northern California, and in particular Mount Shasta, breathe in clarity. Breathe in clarity and breathe out clarity. Extend clarity into the skies. And rise up, all the way up to Oregon and Northern Washington, breathing in clarity, clear skies, clear knowing, clarity of mind, clarity of wisdom. Breathe it in and extend it out. Remember, there's no way to do this wrong. You're just sharing consciousness, sharing peace, sharing love, sharing clarity. And now let's just extend it out anywhere else on planet Earth where we need to extend it. India, Japan, England, Great Britain, Wales. Just go anywhere where your mind, where your consciousness extends it to, anywhere where you feel or sense, or you may just see all this peace surrounding Mother Earth, the globe of Earth, the planet Earth. You may see Earth just in your own lap and just breathe and extend love and peace and harmony to the entire globe. Breathe it in and exhale it out. Beautiful. Okay. And when you feel comfortable, you can just start to call your own attention back to your body. Anywhere where you feel like you might need some more peace, love, or harmony, anywhere in your body, breathe it in and give it to your entire body. Letting anywhere where you're uncomfortable receive the gifts of the breath, of your love. And then when you're ready, you can just start to come back present. Let your present consciousness be with us. And I'm going to bring this part of our prayer to a close by just asking Divine Source Intelligence to hear and honor and respond to appropriately our request for calm storms, calm, peaceful, benevolent storms, that all hurricanes are gently, lovingly, benevolently, peacefully dissolved, all tsunamis, all storms, all fire is gently, lovingly, peacefully, benevolently, expediently put out, all smoke is cleared, and that the calm, peace, harmony is restored to all beings and all of earth, gently, lovingly, benevolently, and expediently, and kindly and compassionately. Let all beings be safe. Let all beings be well. Let all be good, well, and safe on planet Earth. As we know it is, and so it is, and we let it be. I thank you. I thank you so much for participating in this.